Another month has come and gone, and now we're back with more Blue Exorcist. And this chapter, honestly, I'm a bit confused, but also kind of puts things from the last two chapters a bit more into perspective and better understanding what the hell the last two chapters were precisely. And honestly, I would have liked the direction it was going to originally, but let's see how things go from here, because it led to a moment that I'm honestly kind of happy about. But we'll get to that when we reach that portion of the chapter. So let's just hit that intro and get right into the review. Chapter 141 of Blue Exorcist, titled Of One Cloth, Representation. And this chapter starts off very ominously in a black void, which we presume is the inside of Satan's cumulative mutated mass as he started to merge with the very earth around him, with a hand reaching down to what is Yukio, as an unknown voice states, "Do you want to end up becoming a part of Satan? Wake up," as his hand pulls Yukio up, and Yukio then wakes up to where we were left off with the ending of the previous chapter, with Yukio laying down on the ground with his leg bleeding as he now gets up, wondering what's going on. Yukio confirms that he is alive and well, as SHIEMI appears from beyond the distance, calling out to Yuki. They both confirm that they seem to be doing well, as someone calls for Bon in the distance, as it is Konako picking up Bon's body, assuming the worst. But Bon is basically getting up like, what's all the noise, as his head is bleeding out, which is honestly kind of a comedic scene, as now the entire XY group converges on each other, realizing that they're all okay even though they are bleeding. They realize their wounds, but it looks like they're seriously injured, but they all seem to be alright. And they're wondering if this is because of the anti-demon armor that Shimihaza cast on them. But the doctor states that he doesn't believe that it causes physical healing, as then Bon notices something glowing on his necklace, so do the rest of the X-Wires, as it is actually a 4-leaf clover that they've all received. And it seems that it has a bit of a white light, which signifies Shimihaza's divine healing powers. But such marked effects only come from Grigori level healers. The doctor then asks where they all got it from, as they all basically got a flashback that they kind of received it from SHIEMI as a good luck charm, and as we all know, she basically went into a hyperbolic time chamber training arc to fully master her healing techniques as well as become the next in line for the Grigori for her family. She basically seems to have subconsciously used this high level spell, if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I've reread Blue Exorcist in this particular arc. So correct me if I'm wrong if she gave this to them before or after she initially started her training to become a Grigori. I think it was before, so she probably subconsciously gave Shimihaza's divine healing powers to all of them, which is how they all survived, basically getting thrown around in a giant demonic typhoon as Satan was merging with the earth. And I like how Izuma was the one that brought it up, since she and SHIEMI have become very close friends over the course of the story, and it's honestly one of the sweeter friendships in this entire story. SHIEMI then decides to break the ice again, and comedically state that it's a good thing that he brought his wallet, as everyone's kind of teasing him about it, that he was basically just lucky and he probably would have died if he didn't remember at the last second. We then get Shura and the doctor going off in the distance being like, did all the wounds heal because of those charms? Shura just pats the doctor on the shoulder stating, good thing we both acted like adults, acting incredibly smug and happy. Shura, I love you so much, never change. As all of a sudden, Mephisto shows up on a horse creature that he manifested, stating how glad he is that they're all alive, as he was kind of expecting dead bodies to litter the place. But they're all still breathing, and Yukio notices that Rin is on Mephisto's horse, as he states that Rin is still breathing and is alive and well. As they then notice the giant canopy that was holding and protecting all of the exorcists was actually in the sky and is beginning to fall to the ground, as it then crashes off in the distance, but it seems to have been a soft landing. Mephisto then tells everyone to get on his horse so they can head towards the area, which honestly I like that this was a 2-page spread to showcase the area of where it was crash landing. And we next get another 2-page spread showcasing the entire area that has been warped by Satan merging with the Earth. Rin then begins to wake up as Mephisto greets him and asks him if he's alright, and ponders for a second as Mephisto asks, "Have a bad dream?" As Rin is like, "Dream? I don't remember anything." But he then thinks again and says, "No, nothing." As we begin to head towards the canopy that was shielding all the Exorcists. Really quick, I want to do a brief transition to talk about this one instance. When Mephisto brought up the fact that he assumed that he was going to find dead bodies, I honestly think that he thought everybody was going to be dead, because if we remember in the previous 2 chapters, when we got that flash forward to 2 years in the future with Rin being the Demon King and everything, it was revealed that Mephisto essentially saw this potential future through the time-space rift that Satan's own energy created, which he then sealed. He got a brief instance of the future, seeing Rin as a Demon King, but he didn't see the rest of the X-Wires, and it is assumed that they all went missing or potentially dead. So it's very possible that he assumed that this would be the moment where we would find their dead bodies. But thanks to SHIEMI's charm, they're all alive. Now, I have no clue who in fact saved Yukio and everyone from being absorbed into Satan's enormous mass. It could have just been like the good luck charm, but I don't think it was strong enough to pull them out, because we did see a physical hand briefly in one of the panels and Yukio being pulled up. It could have been Mephisto, but he probably would have just said so, and Rin bring up the fact that he had a dream. It kind of feels like Mephisto realizes that Rin probably had that vision of the future as well, as he was also engulfed in Satan's large mass, and he probably found Rin in that large mass as he was escaping and sealing the time-space rift. So it's very possible that Rin saw this dark future. But moving on, we cut back to the inside of the barrier, where we actually get full-on confirmation on who basically tried to seal Satan and who created the barrier. Because, as I mentioned in that chapter review months ago, it was very hard to tell who was SHIEMI and who was, from what I assume, the current Shemihaza Gregory. So, this chapter full-on confirms it. SHIEMI, who goes by the title of Sayo, was the one that created the large barrier keeping everybody safe with Shemihaza's divine blessing. Meanwhile, the other person that was trying to seal Satan with a Maimon by her side was, from what I can tell, the current Gregory Shemihaza. So this all literally gets confirmed in this chapter, but by how the two of them were drawn half the time, you couldn't really tell. So SHIEMI states if everyone's alright and apologizes that she couldn't keep it in the air for very long. Osceola manages to reach out to Lightning asking if he's okay. He states he's more or less fine, as Lucy comes in stating that the situation they're in is very dire. As they go over what's happened, 1/3 of the suppression force is missing or dead, and over half of the rest are wounded. The plan has nearly failed, and the paladin right now, Arthur, is down, and the safety of Shemihaza and the Honorable Knight is unknown. Morale is basically about to collapse. Lightning says, "Really? But this is just getting good." And of course Lightning would say this. This is Lightning we're talking about. The GOAT. Anyway, he says, I need some info. I'ma go take a look. As we then see that Mephisto then rides on in with his circus horse thing to drop everyone off. As they say that the Honorable Knight's back, and that he wants a word with the guy, with Osceola trying to hold Lightning back. Anyway, Mephisto leaves Rain and everyone to the rest of the X-Wires, as then we see Shemihaza and a Maimon bust in through the barrier and land. The high-ranking Exorcist and then say that they're glad that Mephisto and Shemihaza survived, but Mephisto says, "Yes, I'm alive, but I need a rest." He then puts on his bedtime pajamas and says, "This has become Satan's territory and it drains power from high-level demons. That's one reason Eneptier fell. I'm surprised you were able to bring Shemihaza back alive, a Maimon," as he then sees that half of a Maimon has been burnt off, showing a bit of his tissue and skeleton. You know, a Maimon, you are a trooper. I salute you. As Shemihaza says, thanks to a Maimon, they were able to approach the center of Satan's territory, which I assume was how she herself got even more damage from the inside as she then collapsed onto the ground, coughing up blood. And a Maimon got a lot of damage to him as well. She then says that Satan assails the earth and saps human vitality, and that they have to stop him. and that this area has fully transformed into his realm, as she says this to SHIEMI, and states that his heart is in the very center of this area, as we see an image of basically, I'm just going to call it Satan's Tower. Yeah, Satan's Tower. That actually sounds kind of cool. Shemihaza then gives SHIEMI a case holding the last remaining fragment of the crystallization of Shemihaza, the high-ranking demon that they are contracted with for their family, stating that it is the last hope that they have for sealing Satan, and she entrusts it to her. And this is a big responsibility being given to SHIEMI. This is basically what she's trained for regardless, but still, the weight of the situation is essentially getting placed on her shoulder, as her predecessor begins to cough and cough again, with her attendants stating that she's probably going to die and she can't last anymore, and they have to carry her away. Then reaches out to SHIEMI, stating to forgive her, as this is basically all that she can do right now. But SHIEMI says, no, I'll be fine, beginning to resolve herself, as the previous Shemihaza is being carried away to the Vatican for safety and treatment. Mephisto then just says, I'm pooped, says goodnight, and begins to sleep. And now begins the unrest of all the surviving exorcists that are in this protective barrier, as they're like, wait, this is the end. First the Paladin, now Shemihaza, and even Sir Fellows is down. The plans failed, and we've lost. Oscilla tries to calm everyone down and says Shemihaza has transferred a role to the Seo, and that they can still fight this, as everyone then begins to turn to the Seo, who is SHIEMI. They say that they heard that the current successor Shemihaza was unfit for the role. Does she have enough power? I mean, obviously they're all panicking because Satan seemingly merged with the earth, and it is the end times, as their heavy hitters have basically been knocked out or have used up all their strength. They go on to say that the Grigori are actually doubles, but regardless, the unrest and doubt begins to happen, as they criticize her for the fact that the canopy and Piera crashed to the ground, and that they don't believe that she's the real Seo, obviously questioning the fact, even though that she basically kept all of them alive, but, you know, gravity of the situation, they're panicking, obviously, and their morale is already being lost. SHIEMI then removes her helmet, calls out to everybody in a really nice moment, stating, I am the child of the true 90th Shemihaza Emperor of Creation. I am Seo SHIEMI. As everyone sees that that is the Seo, as she says, SHIEMI entrusted me with her hopes, so I can't let her down, as she calls out to all the exorcists around to lend them her strength. As everyone's like, hey, look, she's younger than I expected, she's just a girl. As, you know, the X-Wire group look on to see that that's SHIEMI, as then, yeah, it's confirmed that that's her voice, as Izumo and then Rin begin to try and move up to the front of the crowd. Lightning then speaks up and says, if you're not up for this, leave now. There is no guarantee of victory. And I like how throughout all this interaction, the main group is trying to make it through this crowd of exorcists to see SHIEMI, as it has been a while since they've seen her. And for SHIEMI, it's probably been almost a year, as she spent months training to reach the levels that she needed to be to help in this attack on Satan. Willow then begins to try and tell Lightning to stop talking, but Lightning just says, look, that's just how it is, and we need motivation to win this. As Lucy also says, Oskillo, that lame brain is correct, as he sees that Lucy is agreeing with him. She states that the suppression force is disbanding. Everyone may stay or go as they please. As then SHIEMI is then witnessing as all these exorcists are like, yeah, I'm not risking my life for a lost cause. I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. I want to go see my family at the very end. As, yeah, she's basically panting as she's seeing everyone that she asked for help begin to abandon her. But yeah, all the exorcists are beginning to leave and go through the doors to go back to the Vatican, True Cross Academy, every other exorcist base on the planet, as they believe this is a lost cause, and that's crazy to keep fighting. Izumo and the rest of the X-Wires begin to keep moving forward, telling the exorcists to get out of their way to reach SHIEMI. She begins to pant and starts to panic, saying that her stomach hurts. Her attendants are saying that she should probably rest and that she doesn't seem well, as she continues to hear all of the exorcists saying, why would we win in a lost cause? There's no way we can win. As SHIEMI seems to be losing all of her confidence and all of her resolve, as she begins to think, I knew it. I'm not. As Izumo then calls out to her across the crowd as it lightens up her eyes, as we see in the very last page of the chapter, Izumo, Rin, Kuro, and the rest of the X-Wires heading up and going towards SHIEMI. As obviously, by the laws of any shonen anime, when a certain character asks for help by a large group and they then get abandoned, it is always their friends and loved ones that will stick by their sides. And this is honestly a really nice moment. I love this SHIEMI calling out, stepping up to help lead the charge where her predecessor couldn't and entrusted her with this power. And every other Exorcist is like, screw this! We failed, this is a lost cause. This is basically a godlike entity. I'd rather be with my family at this point. I ain't dying for this shit. And this obviously begins to affect her with all this responsibility hoisted upon her. But obviously, her friends come to her aid. And this is where the chapter ends, and I'm honestly happy for it. This chapter answered a couple of questions. I was, like I said at the beginning, I was a bit confused with how the timeline of the events went for. But it seems to have confirmed that Mephisto only saw a brief glimpse to the future. Maybe Rin saw this when he was absorbed by Satan briefly. And now we're getting SHIEMI stepping up to fulfill her role to try and steal Satan. I finally see that all the X-Wires are going to have to team up and figure out a plan of attack to take down Satan, enter the center of his territory, and fully seal him up with the rest of Shemihaza that SHIEMI managed to obtain. But yeah, what did you guys think of this chapter of Blue Exorcist? There was a lot more for me to talk about, so it's well over the usual amount of time that I spend on a chapter review for this series that I've done recently. What did you guys think? What do you think of SHIEMI coming out and basically taking on the role of basically saving the world all on her own and having her friends come to her when she is about to give up or lose all confidence and second guessing herself? And how do you think the story is going to progress from right now? Because we're still not any confirmation on whether or not the series is ending at all, but I'm still excited to see what happens next. Leave your thoughts, opinions, and theories in the comments section down below. I love interacting with you guys, and I cannot wait for the next chapter of Blue Exorcist. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on this channel, and continues to motivate me to make more Blue Exorcist content and anime and manga content as well. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you all have an awesome day.